Hello, you lovely cubs, it's the Dragon Lord here, back again with another part of What If Tanjiro Was Kokushibo's son, part 7 to be exact. Now, before we get into it, I have a few things to say. One is like and subscribe, the other is join the Discord, and one is actually go check out my Roblox group. We just did a kind of merch drop. It's one piece so far, but there's gonna be probably more pieces coming in the future, and yeah, it's just a really nice merch drop, so why not, right? And yeah, before I get into it as well, I have to say we will be entering manga territory even more. Of course, this entire What If is kind of entered in manga territory, but we'll be talking about like arcs that haven't happened in the anime yet. So if you came here without reading the manga, but like thinking, oh, who is Kokushibo, stuff like that, I do have to warn you that this will be entering the manga. So, with that out of the way, let's get into it.
I'm up now, 20,000 on a bus down, I'm on my way up, going up now, and I ain't never gonna touch down.
The Slayers started heading back to the Demon Slayer HQ. They had work to do and people to interrogate, namely Ume and Gyutaro. A Hashira meeting was called upon getting back. They talk about what to do with Ume and Gyutaro. They didn't look like demons anymore, they looked more human. Ume looked to be around 18 to 19, whilst Gyutaro looked to be in his 20s. Their real ages, of course, being hundreds of years, but the two had become something different from demons. I propose to take these two in as my subordinates. They won't harm humans from this point onwards. Of course, I'll work them to the bone to atone for their sins, but we genuinely could use their help. Tanjiro proposed this to Ubuyashiki. Yet the other Hashiras were agitated. They didn't want to accept these people as they had already killed many slayers and humans in their time of being demons. Tanjiro didn't really care. After all, he was something different from a demon as well. Shinobu also couldn't really accept it, even though she'd do anything for Tanjiro in a heartbeat. This was something too difficult to decide by themselves. You guys forget that these two used to be upper moons. The information they have is worth an infinite amount compared to what we know. Tanjiro said to calm down a few of the Hashira. Ubuyashiki raised his hand slowly. The Hashira went silent. In an instant. We could use the information. After all, we are stuck in this dilemma of not knowing about the upper moons, Ubuyashiki said as he got closer. Tell us everything you know. After that, you are free to be under Tanjiro as his subordinates. Ubuyashiki said this as he sat down. The Hashira proceeded to do the same as well. It was around dinner time, so some kakushi had brought out food for all the slayers and Ubuyashiki. They had brought out an outdoor table as every Hashira sat down next to each other. In the end, Tanjiro sat next to Shinobu. To his left sat Gyutaro and Ume, who he shared his meal with. Ubuyashiki sat opposite of all the Hashira in front of Tanjiro. Everybody started eating whilst listening closely to Gyutaro and Ume. How about you guys start explaining the upper moons and their abilities? Ubuyashiki said as he took a sip of his tea. Gyutaro would start speaking. Well, to start off, we have Gyoko, Upper Moon 5. His initial appearance is that of an armless statue growing out of a porcelain vase, I guess you could say, but this isn't his true form. He's got another form where he is much stronger, so if you fight him, try to finish him before he goes into that form. He's one of short temper, I guess you could say, and he is arrogant and shallow, so you could use this to your advantage. Abilities, I only know a few. After all, most of the upper moons keep to themselves. His blood demon art is revolved around the porcelain vases he summons, and he can move kind of instantly between them, which makes it hard to catch him. All I know is that his blood demon art is related to the vases. Gyutaro would say all this whilst eating some tempura. Ubiyashiki nodded and most of the Hashira seemed satisfied with this information. Continue, Tanjiro would say before even Ubiyashiki could. Next is Upper Moon 4, Han Tengu. He himself is a coward, I say he himself, because he can create 4 clones of himself. To defeat him, you need to behead the original Han Tengu. The 4 clones he has, they're kind of as powerful as Upper Moon demons, I guess you could say. And they can fuse to the point where they almost are as strong as Akaza used to be. That's about all I know. Once again, everybody nodded. Gyutaro continued. Upper Moon 3, his name is Doma. He used to be in the Upper Moon 2 spot, but Akaza took his position. He is the leader of a cult, that's about all I know about that. He uses golden war fans, and he also uses a sort of frost power which can freeze your lungs, and his blood demon art is related to ice. Once again, all the Hashira nodded, besides Shinobu. She sat next to Tanjiro, but was holding onto his hand, quite angered. He calmed her down. Gyutaro went on. Upper Moon 2. Akaza. As I said, he used to be Upper Moon 3, but he started devouring pieces of Upper Moon 1 and started receiving lots of blood from Muzan. I don't know why Muzan is showing such favor to Akaza, but anyway, he has white skin and he has tattoos all over his body. His blood demon art is related to martial arts, and he is very sensitive to people's bloodlust, so attacking him is almost impossible. Gyutaro didn't have much more to say. Ubiyashiki, however, asked him to continue. Well, Upper Moon 1, Kokushibo, is currently being held in the Infinity Castle. Muzan is trying to turn him back into a loyal pawn, but so far it hasn't been working that well. So as punishment, Muzan allows Akaza to eat pieces of him to gain strength. In terms of strength, he is someone capable of standing up to Muzan. He never really went all out, however, for reasons I do not know, but in each battle I watched, it seemed like he was straining himself somehow. Gyutaro stopped speaking after this, as Tanjiro looked quite agitated. The Hashira once again nodded. Ubiyashiki asked about Muzan, but Gyutaro didn't know any of his abilities, so the conversation ended there. When asked about the Infinity Castle, Gyutaro explained that there is a demon who opens the portals and that he himself can't open it. The rest of the meeting talked about Muzan's goals, and that was about it. Gyutaro and Ume got accepted by Ubiyashiki as Tanjiro's underlings. The next 4 months were used as training. Gyutaro and Ume learned breathing styles from Tanjiro, as they both could use the power boost. Gyutaro started learning moon breathing, and Ume started learning flower breathing under Kanoe. They were both quite exceptional in their own rights. Tanjiro learned more about blood demon arts from both Daki and Gyutaro, further boosting his understanding of his own powers. After an intense spar with Gyutaro, Tanjiro's blade would crack. His physical strength had once again exploded, and his blood demon art had once again evolved. After talking to about his sword problem with Ubiyashiki, they would tell him to go to the swordsmith village. So Tanjiro got escorted by the Kakushi. Gyutaro followed along as ordered by Tanjiro. Ubiyashiki wanted to make sure Gyutaro wouldn't do any misdeeds, so he sent Shinobu along to oversee him. They arrived at the swordsmith village, where they found the village chief, who thanked them for coming. Tanjiro got told to go to the hot springs, while Shinobu and Gyutaro got assigned a swordsmith. Tanjiro arrived at the hot spring, where he was greeted by a familiar face. "Hello, Mitsuri, how's it going?" he would say, waving at her. Mitsuri blushed as she stumbled upon her words. She waved back to Tanjiro, but stayed silent. Tanjiro entered the hot springs as he sparked casual conversation with Mitsuri. She, like many other females of the Demon Slayer Corps, had fallen in love with Tanjiro, simply because of his good looks, but Tanjiro also met all requirements she had set of being stronger than herself and being just overall better. So he seemed to be the perfect fit, yet his heart already belonged to Shinobu. They talked, but after that Tanjiro got approached by another familiar Hashira, Muichiro Tokito. He entered the hot spring along Tanjiro as they all started having a fun conversation with each other. Muichiro had become something like Tanjiro's younger brother as they got along amazingly well, and Muichiro wanted to get stronger as well. They got approached by a little boy who told Tanjiro to follow him. Tanjiro did as they found Haganezuka, who was training. When he saw Tanjiro, he bowed. "Excuse me, Tanjiro, for my poor performance. If only I could have made a blade stronger for you." Tanjiro, however, walked past Haganezuka as he came face to face with a doll. "Oh, that is Yoruichi Type 0. We used it to train slayers, but it's in pretty bad shape." Tanjiro admired the contraption for a second. "This puppet was made after my father's brother, the creator of the original breath," Tanjiro would say, surprising both Haganezuka and the boy who owned the puppet. "Could I fight this thing whilst in its strongest setting? I feel like I could learn a thing or two that would help me become stronger," Tanjiro would say as he pulled out his blade. The boy who owned the puppet was hesitant at first, but after hearing what Tanjiro had said, he felt that this was a battle he had to observe, and so he turned on the puppet on its strongest setting. The fight started as both Tanjiro and the puppet went at each other's throats at full power. Clash after clash, attack after attack, they didn't stop. 2 to 3 hours would go by both sides simply clashing with each other. The puppet had gone and attacked Tanjiro with 3 arms at a time. Each of these blows were equal to one of Tanjiro's forms. The fight continued, blow after blow, until the puppet dashed at Tanjiro, all 6 of its arms extending backwards as they came down in a slashing motion from above. Tanjiro took a breath, and for the first time in his entire time fighting the puppet, he unleashed a form. Moon-breathing, 17th form. Reverse waterfall into moonlit heavens, Tanjiro would say as his blade crashed down into the puppets. His blade released many cuts like how Gyutaro's blood demon art worked, yet they got bigger and bigger until 2 of the arms of the puppet broke off. Yet its power didn't decrease. It's like the puppet had gone into overdrive as it pushed down harder on Tanjiro than before. Tanjiro's blade, which had turned crimson red, started glowing. The energy Tanjiro could control, he was pouring it all into the blade, as the light got so bright that the people watching got blinded. All of a sudden, a loud bang could be heard. Tanjiro's blade had exploded. Many chunks went flying throughout the forest, not only of Tanjiro's blade, but also the puppet's remaining 4 blades had also blown up. Nobody got hit by the blades, but the fight wasn't over. The puppet went in and tried hitting Tanjiro with its 4 fists. Tanjiro had hit the puppet in the chest before the fist could reach him, and with an open palm the puppet blew up. Everyone watching couldn't believe their eyes. However, they saw that Tanjiro was holding a blade that was stuck in the puppet's chest. Haganezuka walked up to Tanjiro and asked him if he could work on the blade for him. However, Tanjiro asked him if they could work on it together. When Haganezuka asked him why, he explained that Gyutaro wanted to try to combine his blood demon technique with Nichiren ore to make it stronger. When Tanjiro proposed that they do the same, Haganezuka was ecstatic. So with Muichiro guarding Haganezuka's work shed, the 2 started getting to work. Tanjiro would simply infuse the energy that he used to trigger his blood demon arts into the blade, which seemed to work. They were working hard on the blade, and 2 days had passed. This was all the time it had taken Gyutaro to upgrade his scythes with Nichiren ore, together with a smith. He had gone and followed Shinobu as they found Muichiro. He stopped dead in his tracks, though. "I smell blood," as he started running into a direction. It didn't take him long to find Gyoko, the Upper Moon 5 demon. Shinobu, who was carrying a flare, had shot it into the air, signaling that demons were here. The Luff Pillar Mitsuri would be deployed to go assist the swordsmith village, which they did. Han Tengu was rather ecstatic that Gyutaro was now part of the demons hunters, as he'd be able to kill him. However, right as the fight started, Gyoko would start getting overpowered. Worst part was that he slowly started dying as he had been injected with poison, a poison quite potent. Shinobu had been able to make stronger poisons as she got to test them on Gyutaro and Tanjiro. She had been doing the testing on the latter for well over a year now. So any Upper Moon injected with her poison would have a serious problem, and would need time to digest it. However, because of Muichiro being there and Gyutaro as well, he had his hands full. The worst part was that they all outsped him by a lot. Fact was that all the Hashira had unlocked their mark besides Gyomei, so physically they were all insanely strong. Not only that, but Muichiro was also able to make his blade a crimson red blade. This left Gyoko with no choice as he transformed into his true form. He was now able to keep up a bit with the Hashira, although he was still pretty much stuck. He created an opening for himself by summoning a lot of fish that would attack the Hashira and Gyutaro. In that opening, he'd pull out a few vials of blood, which he quickly drank. His strength grew explosively after doing that, as he was now equal to the Slayers. On the other side of the village, Mitsuri would be fighting Tengu, who had also drank the vials of blood, making his fused clone a lot stronger. Though Mitsuru was able to keep up and she had a difficult time, they all held out for 2 more hours before they started getting exhausted and being pushed back. Shinobu got sneak attacked when she tried taking a moment to breathe, as she was about to be pierced by Gyoko. However, Tanjiro had beheaded him in that instant. He was holding Shinobu's sword. His movement was so swift and beautiful, and it used a certain amount of precision to do something like that. Yes, her blade had been modified, but that Tanjiro had used it to utmost perfection was mind-blowing. Shinobu made sure to engrave his movement into her mind. Gyoko was questioning how he got beheaded, but he disintegrated before being able to accomplish anything. Tanjiro handed Shinobu back her blade, and she could tell that if he had used it any longer than he did, it would have snapped by the pressure. "Weren't you working on your blade with Haganezuka?" Muichiro would ask curiously. "Well, you see, Haganezuka is currently doing a process where I can't intervene, so I thought it would be good to come out and get some fresh air, but I noticed you guys were missing and I smelled demons. Now then, there seems to be another demon on the other side of the village. I suspect that would be Tengu," Tanjiro said as he got gifted a blade by the boy who owned the Yoruichi doll. One of the blades the doll used was blown away. It was still in decent condition and would suffice. "You guys rest up, I'll take care of this," Tanjiro would say as his eyes turned bloodshot red. He disappeared in an instant, as he ran at such fast speed it looked like he almost teleported, arriving where Mitsuru and Tengu were. "Next time you smell fry should bring Akaza," Tanjiro would say as he took a breath. "Hinokami Kagura, Dragon Sun Halo Head Dance." Tanjiro had decapitated both the fused demon and Tengu, who was actually hiding within his heart. Mitsuri started blushing as she got saved by Tanjiro. "I'm gonna propose another Hashira training session to Biyashiki. The demons are receiving a lot of blood from Muzan, so they are gaining a lot of strength, but we only trained to match the strength of the previous upper moons. We'll have to train at least to stand against someone like my father when he goes full out," Tanjiro murmured to himself. Mitsuru was pretty scared at the fact that Tanjiro said that, but she followed him as they returned to the other Hashira. They all ate something before Tanjiro got summoned back to Haganezuka to continue working on his blade. A week went by and Tanjiro's blade got made. He held it as it started to form its colors. One side of the blade had turned pale white, whilst the other had become crimson red. Along the actual lining of the blade came a dark reddish purple line. The blade had the same scabbard that Tanjiro used before, but the guard was the guard that Tanjiro had got as a gift from Rengoku, the flame pillar. Whilst the blade's hilt was lined gold with golden linen, this blade was perfect, as Tanjiro put all of his power onto the blade and it didn't even feel close to snapping. Moving the energy of his blood demon techniques to the blade also felt really easy to do, and it didn't feel like it was straining the blade at all. He was content, and so was Haganezuka. They said their goodbyes and returned to the Demon Slayer HQ. But that is where today's part ends. If you lovely cubs enjoyed today's part, do like and subscribe, and if you haven't already, join the Discord. That's about all I have to say. With that out of the way, I'll see you lovely cubs in the next episode. My name's the Dragon Lord, and I am signing out.